not particularly for having gotten wet, but I am grateful for the rain.
Yeah. Morning, Sue.
What would you go to Minneapolis for?
Hi,
That sounds
Megan.
like quite an adventure.
Dan's daughter lives in Maple Grove. And we spent part of yesterday. Well, we drove up on Friday and came back yesterday. So it was a 5-hour trip each way.
Wow.
Really? I would have thought it would be further. I get the feeling of like bigness. Of course, everything west of Worcester seems very far to me. That's Worcester, Massachusetts. I know there are other Worcesters.
Morning, Loring.
Morning.
How's Ruth getting along?
Well, we had planned to have Ruth in on this Zoom, but we decided against it because of the weather.
Oh,
We'll probably go see her this afternoon. It's been really pouring and it's like night outside right now.
oh.
Ooh, nice in a way.
You're a duck, but that's about all.
I hope it sinks in.
You don't need it. We're so wet, we don't have any crops in the ground yet, and we're usually done by now.
Ooh. Well, we could use it.
We have all the crops in and we're waiting for the rain. So that was wonderful. Good morning, Dave.
Happy to send it to you.
So Dan, how is your daughter in Minneapolis?
Oh, she said it had been a year and a half since she could hug me. She was so excited. And the grandchildren have grown taller and smarter, and it was a great day.
That's lovely. When I was in my 30s, I said, Dad, why don't you give me a hug? And he says, you want me to hug you? Never stopped hugging after that, I'll tell you, but that's how we are up here.
Mm, mm. The Mills boys on the bottom row here today.
I just caught the end of that. Did Iowa get some rain?
We had 3/4 of an inch, which was very nice.
That should help get it up.
Yeah, we can row the corn now.
Good.
Today's paper has an article about a bison bridge between Iowa and Illinois so that the bison can freely pass over the Mississippi. I haven't read all of it, but it looked pretty interesting. In the Quad City areas between Iowa and Illinois.
I can't imagine that there are any bison there, but maybe someone's put some there.
That may be it.
And if they were, what makes people think that they would cross a bridge?
They might trample you. They might trample your corn crop.
Aren't there all these bridges they're putting over highways for wildlife that seem to have worked?
There are lots of them just a few miles from us.
They have them out in Colorado all over the place.
One of the biggest arguments against Mr. Trump's wall was the ecological harm it would do to animals going back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that poor little river.
Steve, is Lynn there? And then it'll be yours after that. How's that? Steve, is Lynn in the area?
She's at the church. She's waving to you right now.
Oh, I see her now. Okay. Lynn, I'm looking forward to reading your devotionals this week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hopefully,
How do I get me a piece of that?
Well, actually, I'll send them to you. Yes, we have your email. I can send them to you. They're in a magazine called The Fruit of the Vine, which is a devotional put out by Barclay Press in Oregon. But I have them all on my computer, of course, so if I can remember between here and when I get home, I'll email it to you, but you can also email me and remind me. That's perfectly legitimate.
Okie doke.
We can send you a hard copy too. There's probably some here.
Oh, yeah, there's some here, and I have some at home, and yes.
Maybe I should subscribe. Send me one and you might get me hooked. The first one's free. Isn't
There
that
you
the theory?
go.
I'll go get one right now and put it in my first one. But I don't remember.
There's a few of us that write for that one. So you'll know some names, I would think, of folks. It's all volunteer writers.
Wow, that sounds great. Wait.
Well, Megan, you want to do a blurb for tomorrow night while folks are on?
Yes. So Wellesley Friends Meeting is doing a series of 4 evenings on 20th century friends, and actually one of them is a friend of friends, you know, Howard Thurman. But we are kicking off with the world famous Brent Bell, who will be talking about Jessamine West and an originally Indiana friend who went to Whittier with, I guess, all the rest of her community in Indiana, and we're really looking forward to it. So we'd love to have you. It's 7 o'clock on a series of 4 Mondays tomorrow, every other Monday starting tomorrow.
So
And you know, it's
who are the 4 presenters?
we're looking for Bill not to do such a good job that he intimidates all the other speakers.
Yeah, right. Who are the 4 presenters and the 4 topics?
So there's, as you heard, Brent, and then Marty Grundy is going to talk about Sandra. I'm going to say this wrong. I want to say Croft, and I know that's wrong, but she was one of the founders of the School of the Spirit. Crump?
Kronk.
Anyway, see, I just happened to stand in the right place, ask a few people, and everything fell into place. And then we have one of our own, also another one of Wellesley Friends Meeting people is going to talk about Howard Thurman, and who is our friend of friends. And we're ending up with Ann Nash, who is a member of Wellesley Friends Meeting, talking about Doug Steer, who is her father, or was her father. So that I think that will be, we're really looking forward to that. She's a little nervous, so, you know, give her good props, okay?
Are any of Douglas Steer's books still in print?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
All right.
A lot of them are.
I have 1 or 2 of his books, and he was a speaker at Earlham College when I was there. And you
Yeah.
could sense the magnetism and spirituality of the man.
Yes. Well, I imagine that she probably knows the part where he threw the socks on the ground, but I think that it's funny because she said that she's really making a greater effort to engage with her father's writings in a way that she hadn't either for a while or perhaps ever.
I don't think that very many of Rufus Jones's books are in print.
Oh, I
There's
don't.
a few. A few are.
Yeah, right. Another underread Quaker author.
I just can't stop reading him. He's wonderful. His writing is wonderful. But just to let you know, so we're going to have someone speak for about a half an hour. Then we're going to break into small groups and talk with people about how does that person's life speak to our condition, and then come back and maybe do a little general chit chat at the end. Probably end with a little worship. Probably start with a little worship, actually, too.
I'll send out the link again today with the when I get the video sent out, so folks will have it.
We're kind of excited about the international aspect of this quasi-international aspect. We're actually we're inviting people from, because we invited you, we feel like this might be super special, so.
Dan has a sweet story about Douglas steer that he'd like to share sometime along.
Let me do it when they talk about Douglas steer.
Good.
I'm sure Anne will be delighted to hear it.
Well, I think it's time for the prelude. So if you mute yourself for the prelude, Dan Berger is the worship leader. When the prelude's over, unmute, and he'll lead us in sharing of joys and concerns, and then the rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Lynn. Are there things of concern laid upon your heart this morning?
I had a really nice visit with one of my sisters yesterday, Friday. First time I've seen her in 15 months. We talked on the phone, but it's not the same.
Not the same.
Well, as some of you know, I've been wrestling with some health stuff. I still have some more tests to do, but it kind of reached the crux last week, and they decided I may be over medicated. So they dialed some medications back, and I feel almost human again. It's amazing. Said the heart medications and blood pressure medications were doing too good a job now that I've lost weight. So we'll see if that's done the trick. I certainly feel better than I did. So I'm grateful for a really super cardiologist who called 3 times on Friday. Between him and his nurse. He's Lebanese, and we've gotten to be friends, sort of, especially after the explosion in Beirut a little over a year and a half ago, and I had sent him a personal note, and he was touched that I remembered that he was from there, and his family was there. So he's quit calling me John and calls me Brett now, and then he always wants me to tell him a joke. Like Dan Berger.
That's right. That's right.
Those of you who from Westney remember the Maud McAlvin Fields family, their daughter Marilyn, who is actually just a month and a half older than I am, is extremely ill, and Andy and I went to visit with her. She is at home in hospice, and her children were there. We went to visit on Friday, and had a good visit with the children. Marilyn was not responsive, so please keep Marilyn and her husband Jack and their family in your prayers, please.
At my house, the hummingbirds are back. I put out the hummingbird feeder Friday, and Saturday morning, there was a hummer at the feeder. I did have an unusual guest. An oriole decided it was trying to feed off the hummingbird feeder. And then it was bashing into the kitchen window, and then it finally figured out where the vines up the trellis that have red blooms were, that he could find something to eat. We got nice pictures of this bright orange and black bird sitting just right outside the kitchen window. Let us bring our hearts together in prayer. Heavenly Holy Father, come down and be with us. We thank you for the blessings that have showered upon us. We thank you for the time of reunions. We cherish people more now than before. We've been apart, and now we can reunite. And we thank you for that. We thank you for the health care. It's been in the news. It's been important. It's been valuable. Now it's understood. And we know in the internal plan there's beginnings and endings. And we pray that endings can be made soft. For these and other blessings, we give thee thanks. In Jesus' name, amen. Proverbs can be defined as short, pithy sayings in general use, stating a general truth or a piece of advice. There are proverbs everywhere. Confucius, the Chinese philosopher in the 5th century BC, was attributed to a couple like this. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. It does not matter how slow you go, as long as you do not stop. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. 5th century BC to today. Still seems pertinent. Buddha in the 6th century BC was attributed, give even if you only have a little. And drop by drop, the water pot is filled. Likewise, the wise man, gathering it little by little, fills himself with good. And from the Quran, 6th century AD, if you are in prayer, take care of your heart. If you're eating, take care of your throat. If you're in another man's house, take care of your eyes. And if you're among people, take care of your tongue. A little more modern, Ben Franklin in the 1700s had things to say like this: don't think to hunt 2 hares with 1 dog. An advantage that itinerant preachers have over those who are stationary preachers. The latter cannot easily improve their delivery of a sermon by so many rehearsals. And 1 today is worth 2 tomorrows. And also from Mr. Franklin, to support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, and to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. The Old Testament book in the Christian Bible, and it's also found in the 3rd section of the Jewish canon known as the Ketuvim, are the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, the king of Israel. And it starts out thus: that men may know wisdom and instruction, understand the words of insight, receive instruction in wise dealing, righteousness, justice, and equity, that prudence may be given to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. The wise men may also hear and increase in learning, and the man of understanding acquire skill to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and reject not your mother's teaching, for they are a fair garland for your head and pendants for your neck. Later in Proverbs, let not loyalty and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. And later still, my son, keep sound wisdom and discretion. Let them not escape from your sight, and they will be life for your soul and an adornment for your neck. My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them upon your heart always. Tie them about your neck. And again, keep my commandments and live. Keep my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them to your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. There are many specific verses in Proverbs describing upright behavior and contrasting it with the ways of sin and death. Most are written as would be told to sons. There are but few concerning children or parenting or marriage. Continuously, the author has you write them on the tablet of your heart, bind them on the fingers, put them around your neck. Keep them dear, keep them close, keep them always available. Some choice morsels I found in Proverbs. The glory of young men is their strength, but the beauty of old men is their gray hair. It's better to live in the corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. I'm outnumbered here today. He who meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a passing dog by the ears. I also found a compilation of contemporary proverbs. There was an English video lessons that state the proverb and then explains its meaning and then gives an example of use in a sentence. It's a website for those wishing to polish their knowledge and use of the English language. There were about 50 of the top most popular ones, and I had heard them all and knew their meanings. I'm sure I had used them at one time or another. These had no attribution of authorship, so I guess that would make them general truths in the time and culture in which I live. As a nod to my mom on Mother's Day, a proverb she often said when she heard us wishing for more was, "If you can't be happy poor, you won't be happy rich." I don't recall Dad ever repeating a particular favorite. We didn't have to be told because we were constantly shown how to behave in a deity-pleasing manner. What proverbs have been passed down to you that you have found most useful? Have you written any for your offspring? Or have you repeated a gem of wisdom often enough that they can recite it? When my kids were thinking of cars, every time they would talk about an expensive car or something shiny and fast, I would say, anything more than gets you dependably from point A to point B is an emotional purchase. When they left the house, I would ask, do you have your money and your manners and your morals? Everything else you can figure out. The one about the cars, I have to back up a little bit. Carly was the first one to buy her own car. And then sometime later, Nick bought his own car. And they were talking, and Carly told Nick how nice it was to have their own car, but the first time you have to write the check for a monthly car payment, you're going to hear Dad in your head, and you're going to hear him say, anything more than gets you from A to B is an emotional purchase. So I took that as a win. There are many pieces of ageless sound advice in the book of Proverbs, but I made up some of the pithy ones for today. A mask on the face is worth two in the pocket. A bee attitude makes for a sweet day. Quality is sacrificed on the altar of low cost. When exploring like Balboa, the way may be rocky. Many adornments around your neck will suit you to a T. Forsake the ravings of a madman, for they are like the twittering of birds eating fermented fruit. So what proverbs were meaningful to you?
a proverb that I heard recently was, the best way to save face is to keep the lower mouth shut.
One of my favorites is from one of the Desert Fathers. Those kind of crazy monks who lived out in the desert by themselves. But I think it was Saint Athanasius said, better to keep silent and be thought a fool than open your mouth and confirm it.
I can hear my mother, our mother, saying pretty is as pretty does.
I tend to be a procrastinator, and my mother's favorite one to me was always a stitch in time saves nine, because she did the sewing, not me.
My mother's side of the family was a fan of the use it up, wear it out, make do without.
It is difficult for a worm to teach the eagle how to fly.
The most used line I remember my father saying is, if I didn't learn to control myself, someone else would be doing it.
think one of my dad's favorites was God will supply your needs, not your wants.
I don't know whether it's a proverb or not, but it sounds like one to me. I recently discovered the Quaker poet from Britain, Philip Gross. He wrote a whole series on silence. And this one has stuck with me for the last 5 weeks. In the grand opera of silence, there are arias and the tiresome recitative, and then beneath it all, the music.
Well, here the rain has subsided. The sound of it pounding on the roof is quieted. I wish you peace and joy and quiet. Till we meet again, Lynn's got another selection to play as we conclude.
We'll now go into unprogrammed worship. So those who need to leave for whatever reason, please feel free to do so. And blessings on you, and we'll continue in worship.
I think when I pay attention to what's happening around me, then I can be amazed every day. I think it's probably the polar opposite of my skepticism, because I can be a real skeptic. But I was amazed this week when the little flying thing on Mars is flying again and is working like it's expected, and yet a Chinese rocket section that didn't make orbit was going to come down, and nobody was quite sure where. So it amazes me that, you know, from 240 plus million miles away, we can make a little helicopter fly. And yet something right over our heads, we're not quite sure where it's going to come down. And I thought, man, how ironic it would be if it landed in Beijing. It was a Chinese rocket, but it landed in the South Indian Ocean yesterday. So we're safe from that piece of junk. Just amazing.
Well, I was a little amazed that sitting here in the silence, thinking about when I was working for FGC and the New Meetings Project, that a bunch of junior high kids came to me and wanted to know if they could start an online meeting, since they were scattered all over the United States and Canada, and their parents were in agreement to be sort of the elders and overseers of it. And I was pretty skeptical and said, sure, we help with that if we could, that experiment, but I didn't have any idea how something like that could work. And here we are, about 6 years later, 7 years later, it no longer seems so strange. We can be together and see each other, and God's Spirit can work as God's Spirit does through any medium. But we're at the end of our time together, so any closing thoughts that friends have before we say goodbye?
I want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day. Well, the mothers. Good to see you, Chantel.
Yeah, hi, Chantel.
Well, take care, friends.
All right.
Find something to be amazed at.
Yes.
Go and be amazed.
Go and be amazed or amused.
Or both.
See ya.
Take care.